And darling, I will be loving you till we're 70. And baby, my heart could still feel as hard at 23. I'm thinking about how people fall in love in mysterious ways. Maybe just the touch of a hand. Or me, I fall in love with you every single day. And I just wanna tell you I am. So honey, now take me into your loving arms. Kiss me under the light of 1,000 stars. Place your hand on my beating heart. I'm thinking out loud. Maybe we found love right where we are.
All right, so this is probably the longest reharm that we have ever done before, but fortunately, it's a great song. And in my mind, it's always this pattern is always Marvin Gaye's "Let's Get It On," which is the same song as "Thinking Out Loud," and also then Thomas Rhett's "Die a Happy Man," which actually has the audacity to reference Marvin Gaye. They're all three pretty much the same song. But this one would sound totally unique and different like this.
And darling, I will be loving you till we're 70. And baby, my heart could still feel as hard at 23. I'm thinking about how people fall
We're at the bottom of
in
the
love
page.
in mysterious
D,
ways. Maybe just the touch of a hand. Or me, I fall in love with you every single day. And I just wanna tell you I am. So honey, now take me into your loving arms. Kiss me under the light of 1,000 stars. Place your hand on my beating heart. I'm thinking out loud. Maybe we found love right where we are.
So super repetitive here. Just a couple parts that are slightly different. We got the E minor that starts at the bottom of our first page, and then we've got that ending part that's just that walk down. But this is not a tutorial on how to play the original version. We are going to try to mess this thing up as much as possible. We got plenty of room to do that. So let's take a look at learnpianolive.com/reharm. That, once again, is learnpianolive.com/reharm. And down here we find all of our fancy little wheels and stuff. So what I did was I took out the two, for right now, I took out the two most common ones that we kind of always have to start with here, and that is adding 7s, 9s, and 6s, which are also 13s, depending on how you want to see it, to any of the chords. So instead of playing, for example, a D to D over F sharp, we play like a D major 7, maybe add in the 9 as well. So we just take the regular chord, we take the root of the chord in the right hand, and we just split it up. So we play the note on both sides of it, as long as you stay within the key, and in this case we're in the key of D. As long as you stay within the key, the notes on both sides of the root should be your 7 and your 9. So that would be like a D major 7, or if you want to take that note down one more note in the scale, that would be like your 6, which depending on how you voice it could also be considered a 13. So D major 7 to D major 7 over F sharp, G. This would be like a G, and there's the root of the chord, the name of the chord. So you just play the note on both sides of it. That one, and then we were already spreading out this A pretty far. I was playing this, which is like a G over A. So you could either see that as like A suspended, or see this as your A chord, and then take that root and split it up just like we talked about before. So you play the note on both sides of the root. So you take the A chord, play the note on both sides of the root, and then if you wanted to take that thing, that's our A chord, and then this would be like a 7, 9, and 11. So depending on how you want to see that, it's a G over A, or an A suspended, or an A with a 9 and 11 on it. But anyway, that's probably how I would voice that. And it also sounds like, I don't know, for this genre, this like R&B, soul, gospel thing, going from the 2 chord to the 1 chord is a thing. So that's not really technically in our lesson for this thing, but it has that similar feel. So anyway, G over A for the A should take care of the 7 and the 9, and also gives us that suspended feeling. Okay, cool. So then all of that stuff, I'm just gonna play the same exact thing, but now I'm gonna add in the 7s and 9s and 6s wherever appropriate to all those chords. Everything else stays exactly the same.
And darling, I will be loving you till we're 70. Maybe my heart could still feel less hard at 23. I'm thinking about how people fall in love in mysterious ways. Maybe just the touch of a hand. Or me, I fall in love with you every single day, and I just wanna tell you I am. So honey, now take me into your loving arms, kiss me under the light of 1,000 stars, place your hand on my beating heart, thinking out loud, maybe we found love right where we are.
So that's just 7s and 9s. Sounds pretty similar, but there are a couple places in there, especially where it sounds like, especially, I hate to use the word jazzy, but it feels like there's got some extra color in there. So the other thing that we can do that it actually is reharmonization, because that was not reharmonization, that was just adding additional color tones on top of the chords that exist. So the other thing that we can do that actually is reharmonization is using the circle of fifths tool. And if you don't have our handy dandy circle of fifths tool, that's fine, because this has probably way too much stuff on it, and it's also included in the PDF down here. Circle of fifths, that's all you need right there. Here's how it works. Here's one of the hundreds of ways the circle of fifths could possibly work. We've got entire workshops just on different uses for the circle of fifths, which I believe is learnpianolive.com/circle of fifths. But for example, if you want to get to a G chord, then what you can do is just play the chord that comes before it counterclockwise in the circle of fifths, or counterclockwise. So thinking of going counterclockwise through the circle of fifths, you want to go from a D to a G. So in other words, chords tend to want to move counterclockwise through the circle of fifths. So they want to move that direction. So if you're wanting to get to a G, you go to the one right before it, which would be a D, and the D, especially the D7, will lead to a G. The D7, that's another way of saying dominant, is just 7. D7 is D dominant. So if you are wanting to get to the G, go one chord clockwise, and you'll land on the chord that you're wanting to insert before the G. So some people think of that as going clockwise to find the 5, and some people think of it as following the circle of fifths counterclockwise. Anyway, however you're thinking of that, if you still are, then we can just insert those pretty much wherever we want. So this would be an example right here. We could play this right before this G right here. We could play this D7. So that's a D dominant chord right there. So we could play D7. In fact, we could even, we're already on a D. We go from a D to a D over F sharp, which is not really changing chord at all. We could just change that one to a D7 over F sharp. So that would be D, D7, G. And then, you know, if we wanted to, we could. It's a lot of chords to cram in here. But before the A, we could throw in the chord that it would lead into the A, which would be, once again, on our circle of fifths. The thing that wants to lead into the A is the E. E7 would want to lead into an A. So we go up here, and we can throw in an E7. Now, at this point, we start talking about interpolation versus substitution, because playing all of those chords, especially if we were going to do that every single time, would just be a lot of work. So,
And darling, I will be loving you till we're 70. And baby,
so that might just be more movement than we want to do. So if we wanted to, we could just substitute the E7 for this G right here. And that way we don't have to do as much work. We'll see if it actually works out, if it kind of fits with the melody. But we could take out this D7 here. Now we've got the same number of chords as we had before. We've already done some substitution. D to D7 to E7 to A. That would be unique already.
and darling, I will be loving you till we're 70. And baby, my heart could still fall hard at 23.
That's the idea, though. I mean, theoretically, we could do that wherever we wanted to. Let's try some of this in here. So we've got longer spaces in here. So we could go whatever chord leads into the A, which we already decided was going to be an E. So we could play like an E7 right here and see if any of that works out. I like that actually a lot more. So we're changing from a minor chord to a major chord because the E7 leads into the A. So I'm going to take this guy back out and just leave those the way that they were. Because, yeah, too many chords in too small a space. A lot of this is just personal preference stuff, trying it all out, and then like keeping what you like and getting rid of all the rest. So just keeping that one section. Let's see if we can fast forward to that.
Hard at 23. I'm thinking about how people fall in love in mysterious ways. Maybe just the touch of a hand.
Yeah.
Me, I fall in love with you every single day.
And there, again, we could do something right there, leading into the B minor. The thing that would lead into a B minor would be like an F sharp 7. So we could either play the A, F sharp 7, B minor, or we could just substitute it instead of sticking that in the middle. Just take out that A. That might be interesting. And I think for the last one, I'm just going to leave it alone because we've been so busy during all that bridge. The E minor to E7 to A to D to E minor to E7. So let's leave the last one, E minor to A.
And I just wanna tell you I am. So honey now.
And then we don't really have anything else to do in the rest of that. This section in here, we could put 5s in there, but there's already a whole lot of chords, and I don't feel like we need. Maybe I guess we could put in maybe put an F sharp 7 there if we wanted to on the maybe. And then yeah, okay. So then all of that, we've played through that, and the next thing we could do, since we already added in a bunch of 5s, is spin the wheel. Let's see what fate has for us today. Backdoor dominance, which is a minor 4 over flat 7, is the way that I'm thinking of it. So what we do is anytime we have a dominant chord, which, by the way, this A is a dominant chord right here. This A is an A7, as we already discussed. Playing this is an A7. Which you either know from the notes that you're playing, or also because it's the 5th chord in the key. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5th chord in the key of D would be an A. Also, down here, there's a chart explaining all of that. If we're in the key of D, then the 5th chord is an A. So the 5 chords are pretty much always dominant, or at least they are naturally dominant, unless someone says otherwise. They should be considered dominant chords. So all these A's are actually A7s. So we've had a bunch of dominant chords in there already. So if we wanted to, we could change all of those or some of those into backdoor dominance. So instead of playing the 5 chord and moving from the 5 chord to the 1 chord, we play a minor 4 chord in the key of D. 1, 2, 3, 4. The 4 chord is G. So we play, instead of A7, we play G minor. Now, we said the minor 4 over the flat 7. So underneath, while we play a G minor here, we're going to play the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's the 7. So that means that would be the flat 7 right there. This is a minor 4. This is a flat 7. Like that. So we play a D to D over F sharp to G minor over C. That sounds like this.
And darling, I will be loving you till we're 70. And baby, my heart could still feel life's hard at 23. I'm thinking about how people fall in love in mysterious ways. Maybe just the touch of a hand. Me, I fall in love with you every single day, and I just wanna tell you I am. So honey, now take me into your loving arms. Kiss me under the light of 1,000 stars. Place your hand on my beating heart. I'm thinking out loud. Maybe we found love right where we are.
Okay, cool. I like that F sharp a lot. I'm going to take this F sharp back to here and just replace that A with it, because I want it in there as soon as possible. F sharp 7. Thinking maybe. And then I forgot to do all the 7s and 9s that we had talked about originally that we were going to start out with. So that's backdoor dominant. That's a whole lot of them. I wonder what it would sound like, though, if I didn't use it every single time. Like if I just used it on the first 3 or just used it on the last one. I want to experiment with that a little bit here and see what I could do. So it's so dark and rich that to do it every single time just feels like too much to me.
And darling, I will be loving you till we're 70.
other one is plenty. So we'll go with that, and then we'll go to this one, which we already said this A7 is kind of like a G over A. And then right here, we're going to go G minor over C. And that way we've got just a little bit more variation in there. Back to our wheel. Let's try a couple more things on this long song. Backdoor dominant, we already did that one. Substitution by number chart. Okay, so this is where you need to know the numbers of the chords, which is why you have this thing right down here. If you're not already thinking in numbers, it will really help you, especially when you need to transpose a song. If you're thinking of the chords in terms of their position in the key, you don't necessarily have to think of the numbers. Some people think of like the solfege or like their, just different, like the tonic and the subtonic and the median, and all of those terms. If those didn't make any sense, that's fine. But whatever system you're using to categorize these things, there's 7 positions in this scale. For me, it makes most sense to just number 1 through 7, but whatever. So we've got the first chord, the second chord, the third chord, the fourth chord, the fifth chord, the sixth chord, the seventh chord, and then we're back to the tonic, the 1, do. So then, if we can think of these in terms of numbers, we've got, real quick here, we already did this thing in terms of numbers, that minor 4 over flat 7, so that's same idea. So we've got 1 to 1 over 3 to 4 to minor 4 over flat 7. That's the way my brain is kind of processing this stuff if I'm forced to put labels on them. So then using this number chart down here, we can either do some common substitutions or some special substitutions that don't always work out. So I already said we've got 1 to 1 over 3 to 4 to 5 or 4 over 5. So we've got a 4 chord in there. So we could substitute a 2 for some of the 4 chords. The 2 chord in the key of D minor, or in the key of D, is an E minor, and we know that from this chart over here. The 2 chord is an E minor. So there's some stuff here that you either need to be really patient with the charts and know that eventually you'll start learning these things, or just already know them, hopefully, for some of them. So here we could go like E minor. I don't know how it's going to work on every single one of them. Once again, it has kind of the same problem. There's the other bit. Yeah, we could go every single time. E minor. I don't think that's too weird that it's going to end up feeling too flavorful in there. So that's substituting a 2 chord for a 4 chord. And then we'll go back down here and let's pick one of those special ones. Okay. We got a lot of 1 chords in here. We can go minor 5. Just pick a random one and see if we can make this work, I'm afraid. So all of the 1s here. This is a 1 chord right here. So if we wanted to, we could take this 1 out. That's a 1 over 3. And then we'll just play a minor 5, which is an A minor, because the 5 chord in the key of D, as we already said, is an A chord. So we're going to play D to A minor to E minor to G minor over C. I don't think I'm going to like this.
And darling, I will be loving you till we're 70. And baby, my
I don't like it at all.
heart.
But I can tell already. I would like it if it. This, I think, again, a flavor thing. I think I like that move right there. The D over F sharp to E. That works for me. But I think for this other one, if I wasn't going to the E minor, my A minor would work for me a lot better. Going from the A minor to the G feels less jarring. It feels like it kind of settles in. That feels, that root movement of a 4th there Does it feel? In this particular situation, it feels like too much of a jump because the A minor was already weird. So I want to go after something really weird and suspension-y, not suspension like a suspended chord, but it creates anticipation. I want to like fall into something comfortable, and that doesn't feel as comfortable. So I think if I turn this one back into a G, I could turn this one into an A minor right there. And that would probably work out. So I would do that every other time. So still leave that G right there and turn this one into an A minor. I don't know. I could be wrong. Let's listen to it and see if I'm onto something.
And darling, I will be loving you till we're 70.
Yeah, that feels a lot more comfortable.
My heart could still fall as hard at 23. And I'm thinking about how.
Yeah, okay, cool. So I'm good with leaving that like that. I didn't write in the G over A there, but we have already discussed how that is. That E minor to E7, and we didn't really mess with the ending of it. Let's do that melodically, actually. That might be interesting. Maybe do one more of these. Don't be anything weird. Tritone subs on dominant chords, of course. Why wouldn't we do that? Then we pick our dominant chords. I really feel like we've messed with the beginning of it so much. And this song is so repetitive, as are the other two that I mentioned, the Thomas Rhett one and the Marvin Gaye one. Like, so much of the song's momentum relies on that repetitive, like everyone can like feel it and predict it, and there's nothing like surprising jumping out at you. And then we took that repetitive pattern and just broke it down in every possible way. So a lot of that gets lost. I want to not mess with the top part anymore for that reason. However, this middle section, we could do something like here for this E7 to the A. This might be weird, but we could tritone sub the E7. So it's a dominant chord. We're just picking any random dominant chord. This is not in a section that I don't want to mess with already. And we just do the tritone sub of it. So there's a couple different ways to do that. One is you just go directly across. Like I said before, what I was showing you with the circle of fifths was just one of hundreds of ways to use the circle of fifths. Here's the other way, is if you want to tritone sub, we're playing an E7, just go directly across the circle of fifths. We land on a B flat, and so that is B flat 7. We just play a B flat 7, B flat 7, instead of an E7, for a lot of reasons that we're not going to get into here. But another way to find the tritone sub is you were on an E before. If you just go 6 half steps in either direction, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you land on a B flat. So either go straight across the circle of fifths, or go 6 half steps in either direction, or 3 whole steps in either direction, which is the name for the reason for the name tritone. Try 3 tone notes, whole steps. 3 whole steps away, you end up with the B flat. And however you get to that B flat, we're gonna try that. People fall in love in mysterious ways. I'm not gonna like that at all. I liked the E more, but whatever. It would sound something like this.
And darling, I will be loving you till we're 70. And maybe my heart could still fall as hard at 23. And I'm thinking about how people fall in love in mysterious ways.
Sounds too goofy.
Maybe just the touch of a hand.
I like it there. I don't know why. Probably melody.
Oh, me, I fall in love with you every single day. And I just wanna tell you I am. So honey, now.
Yeah, okay. I liked it on the second one. So that's interesting. The E minor to the B flat to the A just sounds too goofy right there. But the melody right here is all D, and all of those notes are in the B flat chord already. This other one has like this F sharp in it. Love in me. So when I play that and the melody is that, those two notes kind of clash with each other. I'm playing the B flat chord, the melody's sitting right there. So that's probably why I didn't like that one. Love in mysterious ways. But this next, maybe just the touch of a hand. So I could live with that one. But we try everything, and then we just keep the parts that we like. So people fall. Oh, and then we're going to go E7 there. That one's still going to work. People fall in love in mysterious ways. Maybe just the touch of a hand. Yeah. Me fall in love with you every single day. Yeah, and we can throw in the E7 there. Well, I wonder what that sounds like with the B flat. I just want to tell you. I don't know, either one of them, or probably I should have just left it the way that it was. E7 or B flat 7 there works just fine. You know what? The whole point of the lesson is to mess this thing up. Let's do both of them. E7 to B flat 7. Whatever. If it doesn't sound good, at least the principle stands. E minor to E7 to B flat to A, which is G over A or whatever we decided to do there. Okay, so that's a lot of stuff. Tritone subbing dominant chords. In this case, we just only subbed out the E7s for B flats, but you can do the same thing with any dominant chord. Now, on to melody-based reharmonization and reharm chart, of course. It goes straight to the hardest one. So, you've got this reharm chart right here. Here's the idea. You pick whatever your melody note is. That's the note that you're going to pick across the top. And then you've got a lot of different options for other chords that you could use down here. This is not the complete full list of possible chords, but they're probably the most common ones, if you could call it that. A lot of these are not common at all. But if there was such a thing as the most common, uncommon chords, I think we've got a lot of them there. And I said that I want to try that on this section right here. Because this thing right here, we found love right where we are. For a lot of reasons, this is just a really comfortable move. If we think of this in terms of numbers, it's going 6, 5, 4, 1 over 3, 2, 5, 1. And if you've been around for many of these reharm lessons, you know that a 2, 5, 1 is definitely a thing. It's a nice, comfortable way to end the song right there. And everything else is just a nice little root movement. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 5, 1. Okay. So we're going to goof that all up. There we go. And say, we've got an F sharp right here. What note could possibly, or what chord would possibly go with the note F sharp? And down here, if we look for F sharp or G flat, we've got all kinds of options. So then if we just pick one at random, we could pick like a B flat augmented 7. B flat augmented 7 has an F sharp in it. So we could go up here and go, let's try a B flat augmented. Then maybe which is weird coming off of that F sharp 7, because the whole reason we picked that F sharp 7 was because of the way that it led into the B, and now we're going F sharp 7, and the only thing that makes that okay on that chord is that we went to that B minor. So now that I've done that B flat augmented thing, I'm really regretting it. Let's keep that as a B. That's the one thing we're gonna keep, is a B right there. Maybe we'll keep it as a B minor 7. But this one right here is an E. We'll just do the same thing with that E. All right, no regrets this time. We're just gonna pick something. We could pick a B sus. Yeah, sure, why not? A B sus. We found, which we could think. You know what? What if we just kept a B underneath the whole thing? So we'll call this one a B minor. This one's going to be a B sus, which again, another way of thinking that is like an A over B if you wanted to, or a B suspended. Did we found love? Is it D? Yeah, we could try B under the whole thing. We found love right where we are. Where? Yeah, anyway. But let's not do that. Let's just go down and see what this D has in store for us. What if we just moved up? How could we get to? We want to end on that D, or maybe we don't. We found love right where we are. Let's do that. Let's just kind of try to walk to that D. We'll end on that D. So we're going to keep. I'm kind of making this stuff up if you can't tell. But I'm going to try to keep this D right here. And we're going to keep this as 2 B's. We're going to keep this as, I'm going to get rid of these chords entirely. We're going to ignore all of that. B, found, love, right, where, C sharp, we are. Maybe we found, love, right. Oh, that's going to be interesting. Yeah, I'm not going to like that at all, especially on this guy right here. But we said we were going to try it. So the question is, what has a C in the bass but a D in the melody? The answer is a D in the melody and a C in the bass is a C, multiple options. So this is like a C, pretty much any minor, any chord that has a 9 in it. So it could be a C major, 9, C minor 9, C dominant 9. So a C pretty much anything, and then you can just throw a D in on top of it. So we found love. Let's see what the next note is and see if we can fit both of them in with that C chord. And the next note is an A. So we'll try like a C, 6, 9. We'll just play a C chord and add those 2 melody notes, the D and the A in. So C, 6 for both of those. We found love right. And then right here, this is where it's going to get tricky. I need a C sharp chord that has a D in the melody and a C sharp chord that has a C sharp in the melody. That's going to be a pretty easy one. Pretty much any C sharp chord is going to have a C sharp in it. So the question now is, which one has a D in it? I've got a D in the melody and a C sharp or a D flat, which pretty much this is just giving me the option of D flat, 7, flat 9. D flat, 7, flat 9. I might, so this is cheating. I don't like this chord at all in this context because it really wants to move like to a F minor or something like that. It wants to move according to the circle of fifths because the chord is dominant chord. It's wanting to move either back down to the C or to the F sharp. So instead, I think I'm just going to avoid this problem by not switching to the C sharp until right there, and I'll keep this as a C6. So I've got the C6, it's going to go through that whole thing. We found love right where. And that way I can just play it for that one chord right there, the C sharp. So I'm still using the same concept of trying to get from the B up to the D and using that chart to make sure that all of my melody notes fit inside of the chord. But then also, I guess, adjusting the rhythm of the chords. We. Do we have it? Do we have a reharm of this whole song? I'm going to try to play the first part that we did here during the second part. And I just got to make sure that I get to that F sharp. Maybe we found right where we are. Woo! All right. Sure, why not?
And darling, I will be loving you till we're 70. And baby, my heart could still feel as hard at 23. And I'm thinking about how people fall in love in mysterious ways. Maybe just the touch of a hand. Me, I fall in love with you every single day. And I just wanna tell you I am. So honey, now take me into your loving arms. Kiss me under the light of 1,000 stars. Place your hand on my beating heart. Thinking out loud. Maybe we found love right where we are.
Yeah. Okay, so a couple things here. We found. I want to keep that B under there. I feel like I moved to the C and I'm kind of telegraphing what I'm doing. We found love right. And then right there, I really feel like I want more movement and it just doesn't move. So instead, I'm going to bump the C over to here. So that's going to be my C6. I'm just moving it over to there. And I'm still going to keep that same idea that I had originally of keeping the B right here. Everything over B. We found love right where we are. Yes. Okay, cool. So that thing right there, I think we'll fix that. Okay, so that thing will fix that. Maybe. Yep, and then there was another something in there that I didn't like. Oh, yeah. So right here, I've just got too much room between that A and this E over here. So I think what I'm going to do is just throw in that dominant chord right here, which a chord that would lead into an E would be, according to the circle of fifths, a B one more time. We'll come down here. I'll prove that to you. A B is the chord that would lead into an E. So we'll put in a B7 right here. And because there's no melody, we don't have to keep track of really anything here. We can just go B7 to E. Now, the thing that we didn't do yet is talk about how, well, what would lead into a B7? If we wanted to, we could lead into a B7 using an F sharp. Well, what would lead into an F sharp? Well, we could do a D flat. If we wanted to do a D flat, would lead into an F sharp, which would lead into a B, which would lead into an E, if we wanted to. So that's probably more than we have time for up here, but we could at least do one of those. We could scooch this B7 over here just because I'm wanting more movement. There's no melody, and I'm also just hanging on to that A chord for a really long time. So leading into the B7, we're going to go F sharp 7. And then yeah, or we could go F sharp half diminished. All right, so for all of you people who complain that I pick these things on purpose and don't do it randomly enough, this is not random. You were right this time that I'm not doing this randomly, because what we find is that one of the things, come on, please tell me that if I do this again, it'll tell me to do a 2-5. So close. Okay. No. So one of the things we could have done was a 2-5. And if we take a look at we've already talked about the 5-1. That's what the circle of fifths is all about, is the 5-1. So the other thing is 2-5-1. And I told you ahead of time, if you've done very many of these, then you know the thing that they did at the end, where we went 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 5, 1, 2-5-1. That's a thing. Okay, so hopefully you remember that part of the lesson. We come down here and we say, well, if we wanted to on purpose do that thing, and we were going to lead into an E minor, the 2 would be, and again, these are all lined up in order. This would be the 2, this would be the 5, and this would be the 1. So I'm going to go F sharp half diminished to a B to an E to make a 2-5-1. If I wanted to, I could do what we already discussed, which was going F sharp dominant to B dominant to E minor 7. But I think I'm going to like the F half diminished to B7 flat 9 if we wanted to E minor. So this thing. What did I say? That. Okay, so that's a 2-5-1 into this E minor, because you can do that in the same way that you can go 5-1. If you've got enough time, you can go 2-5-1. If you have enough time, you can go 6-2-5-1. If you have enough time, you can go 3-6-2-5-1 into that. That's probably too much in this case, because there's just not enough time for that. But that'll get rid of my boredom sitting there on that stupid A that was just lasting what seemed like forever. I just got to remember to do that. Maybe just the touch of a hand. Yeah, that's it's just a... Yeah, okay. That's what we'll put right there. Let's see what this sounds like now. Those were the only two parts of the song that really stood out to me as anything that I wanted to change.
And darling, I will be loving you till we're 70. Hard at 23. I'm thinking about how people fall in love in mysterious ways. Maybe just the touch of a hand. Me, I fall in love with you every single day, and I just wanna tell you I am. So honey, now take me into your loving arms, kiss me under the light of 1,000 stars, place your hand on my beating heart, thinking out loud, maybe we found love right where we are.
That's interesting. Thinking out loud, maybe we found... Where we are. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that C sharp, but we already decided on it, so I'll let it go. Here we go, one more time.
And darling, I will be loving you till we're 70. And baby, my heart could still fall as hard at 23. I'm thinking about how people fall in love in mysterious ways. Maybe just the touch of a hand. Take me into your loving arms. Kiss me under the light of 1,000 stars. Place your hand on my beating heart. I'm thinking out loud. Maybe we found love right where we are.
Yeah, and I think that could work. So hopefully there were some things in there that made some sense. We talked about a lot of stuff. 5/1s. We talked about 2 5/1s. We talked about the difference between substitution and interpolation, where we just stick chords in the middle as opposed to ripping chords out and putting other chords in their place. Tritone subs. We talked about this bass movement and the importance of 2 5/1s, even though you'll have to show up for a few of these to see these recurring and hearing the 2 5/1s in several different scenarios and seeing how they all kind of work together. We just crammed a whole bunch of junk in there and used every substitution of a substitution of a substitution. We even talked about minor 2 5/1s, how that goes from a half diminished chord to a 7 chord to a minor chord. That's kind of the formula for a 2 5/1. Yeah, lots of stuff. And over here, we tried that melody chart. We ended up with something that I think is more mundane and boring than the chart would usually suggest for us. But, we're going for that beat. I don't like that move. I think that's dorky at the end. If we had more time... we could use that like G minor over C. We found love right where we... And again, if I could change like her rhythm or her melody, where we are, that would give us a lot more options. Where we... That C sharp in there is kind of what's locking us into something that has that in it. Otherwise, I would use that where we are, where we found love, right. Something like that would be really nice because that kind of reuse that motif that we talked about at the beginning. But she's singing what she's singing, and so we're dealing with it. There's a lot of stuff there. And of course, you'll come up with something even better than that. So take that as a jumping off point. Send me your submissions of what you come up with. Until next time, good luck. Have fun.